Well, Gary, never a dull moment really, is there, at the moment, and lots
No.
going on. Let's start with the football, obviously.
Yeah.
Dover disappointing again, and it's the lack of goals that's a disappointment.
Yeah, it is, and why the lack of goals really? Because when you see the strikers in the squad and the strikers in the team, you know, they've all been prolific in some way, shape or form. So, you know, difficult to understand. The likes of Lee Hughes, Danny Wright, you know, has been always a regular scorer in the conference. So yeah, it's a strange one really, and at the minute, as I say, I look at Danny Saturday. He went through, did everything, and you expect the net to bulge, and it never. So disappointing.
They were saying a better be a lucky player than a good player to a degree. He's not having much luck, is he?
Absolutely, and a lucky manager rather than an unlucky one. I think, you know, when I look back over the season this year, you know, it's been a catalogue of missed chances or, you know, near misses, and like I say, it is hard to put your finger on.
I know it's not mathematically quite out of the equation yet, but the playoffs now look like they're just being over the horizon.
Yeah, I think, you know, the main thing for us at the minute is you know, the lads are desperate to get a win, obviously, and then I'll see what happens after that, if you like. But first and foremost, like I say, the lads are absolutely desperate to, you know, put an end to the fact that we haven't won.
And sometimes that desperation means everybody's a little bit tense when they go out there. It's almost counterproductive.
I thought that a little bit last Saturday for some reason, you know, and the ones who look tense, you wouldn't expect it. You know, the likes of Josh Gowling, who plenty of experience, Kevin Nicholson, Jared Hodgkiss, strange, you know, because obviously, like I say, with players of that ability and experience, you wouldn't expect that to be the case.
You're off to Torquay on Saturday,
Yeah.
and we've got royally thumped at home by Braintree on Tuesday night.
Yeah, they've obviously got the problems. You know, I'm sure they would have been looking to bounce back this year like Bristol Rovers have. So, you know, they're feeling things similar to us at the minute. So, you know, good chance for us to go down there and try and put one over them.
That can work one or two ways, or they're smarting a bit.
Yeah, well, after you've lost 5-1, you know, and the manager's given them a bit of a routing in the dressing room for an hour. So, yeah, sometimes that can go against you, but you know, we've got to go down there and concentrate on what we're about, and try and make that pay in our favour that they're struggling at the minute.
After the Eastleigh game, I mean, Mark Crichton came out and you know, some would say justifiably ripped into the players in the post-match interview.
Yeah.
After the Dover game, were you more trying to lift them, or what's the approach after that?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's like anything. You know, you can't just keep hammering the lads. You know, you want to try and lift them, and you know, we're doing all we can now off the pitch to try and give them a lift, because, you know, like I say, some of the ones I've just mentioned, and two or three you can add to that: Danny Lewis, Jack Byrne, you know, Callum Gittins. They've been here a long while, and you know, they're not necessarily poor players. You know, you could understand that if they weren't up to this level. You know, you could say, well, okay, the lads are not quite good enough, but you know, that's not the case. So obviously, you're looking for other ways to try and, you know, something to click with them and give them a lift.
You're looking for on-pitch leaders at the moment, presumably. Have you got enough at the moment?
We're all looking for that, Trev, I think, and if I'm totally honest with you, there don't seem to be many of them in football at the highest level down to where we are, so it's hard to find. But you know, you look at your Jared Hodgkisses and your Josh, obviously, Kevin Nicholson, Danny Lewis, 200 games now at this level, and you know, you'd think that you'd have enough out there. Lee Hughes, Danny Wright, so you know, I think we've got to help them as well at the minute. It's difficult for them, and I think I said in the week they're hurting just as much as the fans and everybody else.
Are you able yet to plan for next season? I mean, presumably budget-wise, do you know what your budget? I'm not asking you what it is, but do you know what it is yet?
No, not at the moment. I mean, obviously, as we speak, there's a fans forum tonight with the board, so we're hoping maybe a little bit of guidance will come out from that, and we can start seeing a way forward and start hopefully getting things in place to move forward.
I don't know about you, but I'd be very surprised if you're going to get a budget rise for next season. I mean, you're going to have to operate on a smaller budget, I would imagine.
I'd be amazed. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I don't think we're under any illusions. Obviously, it's been cut, you know, this season during the season, which is difficult, as I've said to you, and I'm sure it's going to be, you know, reduced again. But I think the main thing is if we know that, and I think all the supporters know that, and the expectancy of the club is managed on the back of that, then, you know, it's good to know that the lads are going to get the money without any problems. That's far more important than setting a budget which they can't keep to.
Realistically, can you be competitive in this league with further cuts?
I think you can, but I think at the moment the difficulty's been ongoing. But I think definitely if you know your budget and that's set in stone, and you know you can bring your players in and they're going to be paid, and you know, there's other things you can do in terms of obviously trying to improve the pitch. You know, the training facilities are getting better now. We spoke about the link with the college. So yeah, you can be competitive, but I think without the use of the cliche, you've all got to be on the same page.
The fans forum you mentioned this evening, it's important, you've alluded to this before, it's important that's open and transparent, isn't it really? Because fans need to know. If people know, they're more prepared to accept it.
Of course they do. I mean, we had one sort of from the football point of view earlier in the season, and we was honest that night, and the people who was there, you know, I think they was satisfied and delighted to hear the truth, if you like, because as I just said, if they know that and we all know the situation, then you can be together, and when you're together there's a lot of things you can achieve.
There are always going to be big clubs in this league. I mean, Luton obviously were until they were promoted again. Bristol Rovers will probably count as a big club in this league. But we hear Lincoln have got to find an awful lot of money in a short space of time. And by no means Harriers. Realistically, I mean, can the conference carry on the way it is? Because it seems to me that people are overspending left, right and centre.
I've got to be honest with you, Trev. I think the biggest problem in this league is there's only one up and there's one through the playoffs. And I think if you found that there's a 3 up, like it is all the way down the pyramid, and then another one through the playoffs, you know, that changing and sort of mixing between the divisions, between the teams, I think that would benefit clubs in the conference, and I also think it would benefit the clubs in League Two as well. You know, the likes of Luton, that took a long time to get out of this league, and I'm sure now they're in League Two, just from a financial point of view, the crowds they bring away, I'm sure they're benefiting them teams in League Two, and I think there's lots of other things like that which just giving the teams a chance to move up from this league, being a bit more flexible, I think it would be a massive benefit for League Two.
It's the age-old problem though, isn't it? It's getting turkeys to vote for Christmas. No one wants to vote for another relegation.
It is, and because it's so hard to get out of this league, then teams tend to throw a lot of money at it because you're chasing that opportunity of the golden fleece of being in League Two and the money that goes with it. So that's why I think teams tend to overstretch on the budget, hoping that, you know, they're going to be able to get promoted.
As we stand at the moment, and given the budget things we've been talking about, presumably you haven't been able to offer any deals for next season because you don't quite know where you are.
No, not at the minute. We've got a couple who are obviously, you know, here and tied down for next year. But no, there's some lads that you'd like to be talking to, and I'm sure they'd like to be knowing to know what's going on as well. So, you know, again, that's a little bit of a double-edged sword at the minute. You know, it's the lads are going out there wondering whether they're going to be here next season, and you know, that's difficult for them as well.
On a positive note, 4 of your academy players you've put on contract or non-contract terms for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and those 4 with the other 2 who signed contracts, you know, we got high hopes for them 6, and like for me at the moment, that the good thing about this football club, the only thing that's solid is that and the academy, and that's going well. And you know, those lads definitely deserve that recognition. They haven't just been signed to make up the numbers, and you know, there's a lot I see in them. That I've seen in the other lads who have come in to the club and either gone on and we've had money for them, or who are playing out there and doing well for the club.
I'm not suggesting you're going to throw half a dozen youngsters in at Torquay, but might 1 or 2 sort of come into your thinking?
Oh yeah, we've used 1 or 2 of them over the last few weeks, and they're in training with us as well, which is good for them. So yeah, I think, you know, we touched on it before that you don't want a team full of them, but certainly over the next few weeks, you know, like we have tried to do, we need to know where we are with them for next season moving forward, because, you know, let's be honest, the way we're talking, that could be a third of your squad.
Rod Brown has come in as the new vice chairman. Obviously, Ken Ray's here as the chairman. You've all known what it's like at Redditch where it was tough going, and
I mean,
does that stand you in good stead?
I feel a little bit. I did hear that mentioned about Rod, and I think that link, which is obviously right, and there's a relationship there. I think it's a little bit unfair because I know Rod as a very stringent businessman as well as his football, and Rod I know has come here to try and make a difference. You know, he hasn't come here just to come to the games of a weekend and have a beer in the bar. He's come on board as vice chairman to try and make a difference, and I'm sure he would have, part of that, him coming here, he would have been very severe, or you know, his due diligence would have been conscientious. So Rod's definitely come here as a friend who I know, but he's come here with a reason, and that is to try and improve things, and I'm sure, knowing him, I'm sure he will do.
Yeah, the point I was making is that he's used to working with a fairly tight budget.
Yeah, Rod's done well in football in terms of his managing. You know, he'd done a fantastic job at Redditch and got them promoted to the Conference North, really, in a situation where, you know, he never had too many resources to work with. But, you know, I think Rod, people who are here, if they don't know Rod, they'll be in for a few surprises, because he's other than the football, he's a very stringent, hard-nosed businessman who knows how to make things work. So obviously that's a positive for the club.
Final point, injury-wise, ahead of the Torquay game, how are you looking?
Craig Reid, he's struggling. He's had a bad knock in the ribs from the Eastleigh game. Josh Gowling, 1 or 2 this week actually, had little sort of colds and stuff like that, but hopefully the only one missing will be Craig. Dominic Knowles, he's been recalled by Burton this week, so obviously he'll be missing from the squad as well.
Very last point, Gary. It's part of you deep down, you've been honest to give us. Let's get through to the end of the season and let's start again.
Yeah, it's been a long season. You know, I feel as though we've sort of put 3 teams together, you know, and in one season, and it's difficult for me. You know, we spoke about that last Saturday, and you look at the likes of Marvin Johnson and Blissett and Dunkley, three massive players, and you know, you don't sort of underestimate that feeling that it gives a dressing room when them players are gone. And you know, the Gashi, Michael Gash, Kyle Storer, you know, they're all big players, and I just look at the likes of Vorney, who went at the start of the season, Mickey Demucho and Shea, and I don't see how any club's going to cope with losing that amount of players over a short period of time and look to be competitive, you know. And as I say, I think that's the thing that we've got to manage at the football club.